Hi everybody, Dan Illman here with the DRF race of the day for Thursday, May the 14th. It's race number 9 at Golden Gate Fields. It's the final leg of a mandatory Rainbow Pick 6 payout at Golden Gate on Thursday. We are expecting that pool at Golden Gate Fields for the Rainbow Pick 6 to be in the $2 million range. Before I get to the analysis, I'd like to remind you to please try those DRF mobile past performances with the exclusive lifetime buyer speed figure graph and true mobile access anywhere, anytime on your phone. Downloads in seconds. Learn more, drf.com/MPPS. Here's the field for race number 9 at Golden Gate Fields. We're going a mile on the turf. It is a $12,500 claimer, and you can download free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. A wide open race. I'm going to be looking for a price from a single race betting standpoint and probably a spread situation in the Rainbow 6. Taking a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race, I agree with Timeform US. I think they've got the 3 horses that are going to be pushing the pace absolutely correct and in that order. I think the 2 Studley Perfection has to show early speed. That is his best game. King Eddie likes to be forwardly placed, and perhaps the key from a pace perspective is the horse on the outside. Owning is stretching out, the number 11, and from this outside post with a relatively short run into the first turn, I think Owning is going to be hustled out of there, and I think this pace could get fast. Another thing to note about this race is that most of these horses have recently been running on the Tapeta surface at Golden Gate Fields. They're going to be switching back to the turf. Some of these horses are turf horses that might be dirtied up by bad-looking form on synthetic, and one of those might be the number 1, Conquest Sabercat. Let's go back to Conquest Sabercat's last race. A perfectly fine performance, finishing second at 7-1 in an $8,000 claiming race. Now, Conquest Sabercat has lost his last 4 races, but all 4 of those races have come on synthetic, and he's never won a race on synthetic in his career. Prior to that, he won 3 races in a row on turf. He is now switching back to the turf, and I think he could work out a beautiful pace-tracking, ground-saving trip. He has the tactical speed to tuck into the second flight behind the speeds while saving valuable ground. Leading jockey Hernandez takes the call. There are a lot of things to like, and if this horse goes off at around his 8-1 morning line odds, certainly value in this spot. He is stepping up a bit in class. That is somewhat of a concern, but Conquest Sabercat has some things going for him. The 2 is Studley Perfection, one of the speeds in the race, and he was claimed by Jonathan Wang out of his last race, and the Jonathan Wang barn just excels at Golden Gate, especially off of the claim. This horse can be expected to improve. Now, he's only raced once on turf in his career. That was way back in 2018 at Santa Anita. He was actually the favorite in that race, got caught up in a very hot pace duel and tired. He is a much different horse now. With the addition of blinkers, he figures to show good early speed. There is the question, maybe he's a little bit better on a synthetic surface and he could face pace pressure in this spot. That is my big concern, that perhaps the 8 and the 11 push Studley Perfection hard in the early going of this race, and that could make him susceptible to the late runners. But you have to respect anything that this barn puts out onto the racetrack. The 3 is Soberano, and Soberano is a horse who's never won on the turf. He's 0 for 11 on the turf, but he's never raced on the turf in Northern California. He's raced overseas on grass. He's raced in Southern California on turf. Maybe he's been a bit overmatched in those races. I thought his race at Golden Gate Fields last time out was a good performance. His first time on this circuit, over a synthetic track, in for the $20,000 tag in a race where the winner came back to earn an 87 buyer, went second for the $20,000 tag. Soberano was near the back of the pack in a race with no pace. He ran on in the end. To me, it shows that he is in decent form. I do believe that he's okay on the turf, and he should get pace this time around. I want to use Soberano, even though he's 0 for 11 on the grass. I want to use him in the Rainbow 6. The 4 is Eldritch, and Eldritch to me doesn't have that much of an edge over this field that I'd be that excited to take him at 3-1. Yes, he is dropping in class. He has never been this cheap in his career, and I guess you have to respect that class drop. He's coming out of the same race as Soberano. They had similar trips. They were both compromised by the lack of pace. The difference is that Soberano came with a run, Eldritch didn't. And if you just want to take that at face value, you would like Soberano. But I think that Eldritch doesn't like a synthetic surface compared to the turf. He's won both of his lifetime races, 2 out of 3, pardon me, on the turf. And I think that this is a horse who, again, will appreciate racing on turf in Northern California, something he has not done in his career. He has raced on turf overseas, in Canada, Southern California. He's a nice fit. I wouldn't take too short a price simply because he doesn't have that much of an edge. But getting back to turf, dropping in class, that should work for Eldritch, the number 4. Wilshire Dude, the 5, is our main track only, so we'll move on to the 6. That's being Southern Thunder. Southern Thunder is a horse that's going to need a little bit of pace and might get it, and this is a horse who's double dropping in class. Out of the non-winners of one other than Optional Claiming 25. Ran okay that day, stalked on the outside, was just simply overmatched, I believe, in that spot. 2 starts back, finished behind Soberano. Thought he had a little bit of a better trip than Soberano that day, but it was his first start off a little bit of a layoff. Maybe you can forgive him for that effort. His most recent race on turf I thought was a decent effort, and something that you might want to consider was that Southern Thunder was really in behind horses most of the stretch. It was a rather conservative ride. By the time he got to the outside, he ran on in that race, earning a 77 buyer. If you want to concentrate on that performance for Southern Thunder and believe he's going to get some pace, and now he's dropping in class, all of a sudden there are some things to like at a price. Again, a very, very wide open race. Rob's Lucky Spirit's a little bit interesting for me. We're going to go back to his most recent start on synthetic, where he finished 3rd, beaten 2 lengths. The Connections have tried fiddling with this horse's equipment. In his last 2 starts, they ran him with hind shoes off. He's going to be racing with shoes on as he switches back to turf. And while he hasn't won on the turf, he's run some decent races against better competition on the grass. 3 starts back, he was sprinting, going 5.5. That distance is way too short, and the winner of that race, way too sharp. A horse that came back to run 2nd with an 85 buyer speed figure. This horse may not be the most prolific winner in the field, but he's going to get some pace, and he usually runs on at the end of his races. Another horse that, from a record standpoint, may not be as good on turf as he is on synthetic, but from a pace and class standpoint, I think he fits with these horses. The 8 is King Eddie, and he's just a beacon of consistency that's going to get a good trip, sitting right up close to the pace, and you have to figure that King Eddie's going to be in prime position when the field turns into the stretch, much like this most recent start. His first start off the Bill McLean Claim, where he went gate to wire at 8-1. He set a reasonable pace. He sprinted on home. Now he steps up in class, switches to turf. He's done some good work on the turf in his career. I'm not worried about him switching to turf. And again, of the 3 pace horses, I prefer King Eddie, and I think I would use him as part of my Rainbow 6 ticket. Moving on to Gain Ground. This is the number 9, and Gain Ground is a horse who's competent on turf, competent on synthetic. Last time out for the starter allowance, 12.5. I think he was just in a little bit too tough. He was dismissed at 52-1 and didn't do any running. 2 starts back, he came with a good run over a synthetic track to finish 2nd. 70 buyer speed figure, perhaps a little bit lighter than what it takes to need a race like this. I think he's going to have to improve from a buyer standpoint. I'm not sure he's the best closer in this race, but he's not impossible, again, in a wide open event. Carolina Island is the 10, and I thought Carolina Island ran okay last time out on a synthetic track. He tried to come 4 wide into it at the quarter pole, and trying to rally wide against a slow pace scenario isn't the greatest situation. Carolina Island flattened out late. That's understandable. He has shown some tactical speed in the past, and that was with Kent DeSormo aboard. Kent's back on again on Thursday. Maybe he can get this horse a little bit closer to the pace. And again, this horse is only 1/4/18 lifetime on synthetic, 20% winning rate on turf. Carolina Island switches back to this surface and might be able to work out a little bit of a better trip. Owning is on the outside. Let's go back to his last race. 6 furlongs on the synthetic surface. He was pushing a fast pace early. He's going to finish an even 3rd down towards the inside. Stretching out is going to be really the key to this race, as well as whether he is as good on turf as he is on other surfaces. All 3 of his lifetime wins have come on dirt. Stretching out, big question mark. Pushing the pace on turf, a fast pace at that, big question mark. He could be a key to the race, but I think a win might be just out of reach. I want a price in this race. I am going to take a stab with the 7, Rob's Lucky Spirit, 12-1 on the morning line. I think that this horse is going to get the right pace scenario. I think the little freshing is going to do him some good as well. He's going to come with a late run in this race, but I got a spread in multiple race wagers like this this guaranteed payout in the Rainbow Six. My top 4 picks, as you see, are 7, 3, 8, and 2. I'll be keying on the 3, 7, and 8 in the Rainbow Six. Best of luck with your wagers. Race number 9 at Golden Gate Fields on Thursday has an approximate post time of 4:42 Pacific. Best of luck.